Okay, guys, hello and welcome to the Guest Life Podcast, episode 48. I am just filled with joy today. You don't know how special this is. I think I have the same outfit when I was 6. If you look at my Hebrew school uniform that my mom dressed me in. We are here with Lohifa, Pogoson-Acker.
There we go.
I'm thrilled, guys. It's going to be a great one. The energy in this room is busting. I'm going to say it before she says it, but no, I did not have food at the door waiting for us with a spread before she got here.
The audacity.
Lohifa, how are you?
I'm great, Dan the man. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome.
Before we start, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. We couldn't be here without your episode 48. I still can't believe we're here. I think I say it every week as we get up there, but if there wasn't incredible entrepreneurs and community leaders like Lohifa, the podcast wouldn't be what it is today. And for all of you guys listening in, talking about the journey and the story and kind of taking our businesses and our minds to the next level. And we're going to get there today with Lohifa and her story.
Thank you.
All
Looking forward to it.
So there's a lot to talk about. I don't know if we have enough time.
We've already been talking about
but where do we start? I mean, I've known you for years.
Yes.
In energy in the city and energy in every room. We had a joke about our partners, and it's just if you want to know if we're in the room, just close your eyes and listen. And I think anyone that knows us will know. Tell us a little bit about you. What's your business? Where do you start?
Oh, where do I start? Well, my name is Lohifa, Pogoson-Acker, of course. I am Nigerian by birth and by origin and by nature. I'm also Canadian by immigration. And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, a friend, a lover of life. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just me. I'm just me.
I say, like, when I think about community and giving back, and I see you at every single one of the events, spending your time, spending your extra time, spending your earned time. That's definitely something that brings out. But then when I see you as a personality, it gives me joy. I think a lot of times, following you on social media, talking about positive energy into a screen, especially when you're sitting by yourself in a car or in an office.
You've been watching too much of my Instagram, Dad.
The algorithms
I
don't
love
lie.
it. I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about your business. How's business?
Business is great. Business is really great. So some background story. My background, my career background is in public health, or previous career. So I went to UBC.
No way.
I did, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did. I went to UBC. Go Thunderbirds, go. I left UBC and I was going to become a doctor, but my undergraduate degree, which is a dual degree, took me 5 years, and I was going to go in for neurology and neurosurgery, and that was going to be another 8 years, and I was not trying to be in school for the rest of my life. So I thought, and at that point I was also disinterested in biomedicine. I wanted to learn about alternate ways of health, of knowing about health, and also of healing. And so I decided to go the public health route instead. Wow. And so I went and worked overseas for a few years, and then I came back to Canada.
What is that, overseas? What do you mean?
Well, mostly around West Africa. So I went back to Nigeria because I wanted to give back. I wanted to go back to my home country, my homeland. But then I ended up traveling all over for work. The US, most of West Africa, North Africa, the UK.
No way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When did you do that in your career?
Early on, actually. Early on. Like, right after I graduated, the next year I was in Nigeria.
So you're like 25 now, so that was 3 years ago?
No, I definitely do not want to be 25. Definitely do not. I lived those years and they're done. Yeah. My exuberance is done. I've retired from the trade. No, right out of university, I believe I was 22 at the time.
Okay.
When I went into public health, international development was what I did. And I did that for, about 10 years. And then it was a wrap. I'm coming back to Canada and I'm going to go into the healthcare system here. And Amazing. I did that. And it just wasn't enough for me. My job was great and I enjoyed it, but it didn't afford me extra time to be with my family, to be with my friends, to be embedded in my community, all the things that matter to me that would provide me with what I considered to be balance at the time. It just wasn't enough. And so I wanted to be in charge of my own time. And I was like, okay, that's it. It's a wrap. I'm out. And then it was, well, what are you going to do now? And I've always loved hairstyling. I've always loved it. Since I was 3 years old, I've been playing with dolls. And I did my mom's hair for the first time when I was 5. And she took it to work. And my mom, she worked at KPMG for many years. She's a lawyer. She's a big wig. So I was really impressed because I didn't think she was going to take it to work. I didn't think, I was like, oh, wow, really? So that gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And then I kept styling. I went to boarding school. I styled all my girlfriends at boarding schools, an all-girls school. And then I went to a mixed school. But all the girls I styled, all the girls and guys when I went to the mixed school. And then I just always did it on the side. When I was in Vancouver, I worked out of my parents' garage. I worked at some hair salons downtown and in Richmond and Burnaby. I used to do little pop-ups here and there.
Come on.
And yeah, and then so when I was thinking about what to do, what I wanted to do as a business, I thought, well, this is a skill that I already have. It's a hobby that I love, and I love to connect with people. And one of the things I was adamant about doing, leaving my work, was to really connect with people. And so the hairstyling is just an excuse. I just love that I can bring you into a space and connect with you as a human being, and then you leave just looking better and feeling better.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Who would have known if you don't ask, right?
Right, Dan, right.
You learn a lot with more questions.
You have to ask questions because people don't always offer this information, and then you end up making assumptions, and then they're the wrong assumptions, and then we all get in trouble. So keep asking.
That is such great advice. And, that was one of the things that led me to the podcast sometimes, because without that kind of curiosity, but also I always say there's nothing offside.
True.
If it offends the person, they'll tell you.
True.
But they won't answer.
True.
Was the question offensive?
True.
Was it coming from ignorance? I don't know. But
you cannot offend me, Dad.
But that's what I mean. I think a lot of the times it comes from curiosity and understanding that, well, most people, especially that have been there or have done something, they share out of joy. You can ask those hard questions. And I think that opens up for vulnerability, and the vulnerable conversations are the best ones we want. I
agree. But put some sense into your questioning, though. All questions are open.
Yep.
I shared recently, I don't know if you saw that in my Instagram, where I was pregnant with my son, fully pregnant, I'd been induced, and I went in to give birth. I was in active labor, and this resident doctor walked into the room and looked me dead in my eye and asked me, "So what brings you in here today?" I don't want to be asked that kind of question.
That's a little silly. Yeah.
So ask away, of course, but put some sense into it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So where would you at in your career from your medical's perspective? And now that you're doing hair and doing what you love, how do you spend your time? Because
go ahead. It's a lot. Yeah. It is. Hairstyling is one of the things I do because I find that it's become a very effective means for me to, like I said, connect with people, particularly in the community, and not just Hamilton. I have clients coming from all over, from Paris, from London, from Toronto. A lot of my clients are in Toronto, from Niagara, from Burlington, right? So it's really nice because you get a sense of what's going on in every city, right? I also, I do a lot of volunteering work. I do a lot of consulting work. I speak, I do trainings, so there are quite a few things that I do, but I think my ultimate goal in everything that I do is really service, and service to my community, and service to the people within my community. And it always comes back to you, right? Because people always ask, how can I change, and how can I grow, and how can I learn? It's by serving. It's by giving. And through giving, you also get, and you get so much, so much. So the transition has been great for me because everything I learned from international development and healthcare and health system strengthening and all that, I've been able to bring in, during the pandemic, for instance, when we were all locked in and all of a sudden I'd become a non-essential service. It was nice to hear different perspectives about staying healthy and about, keeping things clean and, not spreading the virus and all the nonsense that was out there, and just being able to sieve through all that. It was interesting and it was great. So it's been a good steady transition for me, I would say.
was there a time that like it hit you to said like, okay, my life is now, I'm on my path, but then the service path is what is fulfilling? Like, was there a moment in time when you were younger, or you just found that connection over time?
So my parents always raised us to give back. My grandfather was a commissioner of police. My other grandfather was a lawyer, both very active in their communities. My mom was also very active, still is. My dad as well. My brother and sister as well. So I think I've always grown up with that sense of ensuring that whatever work that you're doing, it's embedded in community service in one way or another. And even if it isn't directly, you find a way to connect yourself back outside of that work environment, which is what I always tried to do. And that's what it came down to, is that I was trying so hard to be active in the community, but I didn't feel like I had enough time. And it came to a point where, well, what matters more to me? Well, my community matters more to me, so bye.
Was that a hard decision?
Not at all, because I'd been thinking about it for a while, and then I was, new mom at the time. My son was about 2, and my daughter was just born, and I thought, man, I want to spend more time with them. We had a nanny at the time, and I always joked that she was mom and I was assistant mom, because she would see my kids a lot more than I did, and that wasn't the life I wanted. It certainly wasn't. I know these are decisions that families have to make all the time, and it helps when you start to think about service and what can you do on your own to serve. And you can see that a lot of women have started businesses through the pandemic, because they've come back to that homely space and spending more time with their families, and seeing how enriching that is, and how strengthening that is for the family and for themselves as well. So everyone, I feel, is becoming more and more entrepreneurial. Yeah. And it's very exciting to see. That's exciting amazing to see. Yeah, it is.
I think, there's so many people right now that are not just starting businesses, but starting businesses for self, which I think is such a unique. Do you find, because over the years I've found, because it doesn't feel like work, you're not watching the clock?
That's a good one. Yeah, I definitely don't watch the clock. I definitely don't watch the clock. And my friends are always, talking to me about how I work too much. And I'm like, it's not work. Like, it's really not work. It absolutely isn't. For me, it's just living. And I love it. And if it brings me joy, and if it makes me happy, and if I can sow a seed of joy into someone else's life, why do I want to put a stopwatch on that? No, let's go from everlasting to everlasting. Of course, there's some sense in stopping to, self-care and refuel and, be cognizant of that, right? But ultimately, man, no, let's go. Dan, you and I are of the same mindset here. So
I think if there's an event she's not at, I get concerned. I gotta get the bat phone out and give her a call.
No, I think, it's so funny you mentioned that. I was just talking to someone about actually laundry designers with my friend Erin and Gary. We're doing some pictures, and he was talking about how I'm always up styling hair late at night. And I said, well, it kind of makes sense for me, because a lot of my clients, they're working moms. They have really busy schedules, and I don't want them sitting and spending their whole Saturdays with me, right? So they come sometimes at 11 p.m. and we style till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then they go home and they have the whole weekend with their families. So I'm around the clock on the days that I work, and it's great. I like the flexibility. We get that one-on-one time with each other to share and grow, and we do fun stuff. We watch movies, we listen to music, we talk about life, we learn from each other. It's always great. I wouldn't want to stop doing that.
The connector. It's funny, but it's so true. Like we talk about, and this is something that came up recently. I was talking to some of the younger generation, and we did take high school co-op students here.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is the joy of my life.
Good.
But as a business owner, sometimes, especially when, listen, we always, a lot of people say we have culture at our office, or we have an open door policy, but not everybody knows how to approach it. Just like we said earlier, not everyone knows how to ask the question.
Right.
So I try to make a conscious effort to go to these students and ask them deeper questions.
Good. That's awesome.
And one of the things is what do you want to do for the next 5 years? Not the rest of your life. And what I try to explain to them, and let me ask you this question, but did you find a love for something once you become an expert at it? because the confidence in the question of, are you able to do this for me? And the confidence you have in saying, you can come in with your shitty hair or your bad style or your bedhead, whatever you want to say.
I love it.
Right? Or grown out, whatever term you want to say. But
I love it.
I've gone to my barber looking like a bag of shit. And I've left there feeling like $1 million.
That's right. That's right.
You know, he or she has the confidence to kind of, depending on who I go to, because,
Right.
you know,
It's good to have choices.
some of my female barbers are badass.
Of
and
course.
just depends on the day, right? If they went out drinking the night before or not, how I'm going to look. But the confidence comes from, like, you know, I never had a passion for plumbing.
Right.
Never. And did I think it was going to be a career? Absolutely not.
Right.
Did I love it? No, not at all. Do I love it? I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. But I think that love comes from being able to solve problems for other people.
For sure.
And being that solution.
For sure.
Is that something that, you know, if you started at 3, like you said, and then that confidence that your mom gave
Right.
when she went to work at KPMG?
Right. That's a good question. Good question. I think you and I align in many ways on our journey. I think there's many answers to that question. First of all, I don't like that word expertise. I don't like that word at all, because you always want to be in the state of learning. You always want to be teachable. And expert implies that you're at the pinnacle of the knowledge, right? That you know, or you know the most, which is never really true at any point in time, because there's always more to learn, right? And I think in my case, it was just something that I loved doing. Just like you, I never thought that I would become a hairstylist. I never thought that this would be my breadwinning profession at this point in my life. And never. I mean, I had plans to go back to medical school. I had plans to remain in international development and become a country director. You know, I had all these dreams, but at the end of the day, life changes, and that's one of the constants in life is change, and you have to be ready to change as well. And I think what's worked for me is staying teachable, staying humble, and always being attuned to serve. This is it, Lohifa. This is not about you. It's not. I make certain decisions in my business, and it's not about me. I think about my clients as well. I think about their needs. I think about their expectations. I think about myself as well, but it's a pot of many considerations. So I think that's the most important thing. I don't think we should strive for expertise. Yeah, strive for excellence and, you know, be your best and do your best, but stay open to change and stay open to growing and stay open to expanding your knowledge base and stay open to learning, because you never know. You started off, what were you going to be? Certainly not a plumber.
No, I actually wanted to be a lawyer or an accountant.
There you go.
I was good at numbers, and my mom said I'd argue a lot of points.
You sure do, and you're great at it too.
Stubborn, yeah.
You're great at it too. I think, you know, we raise kids these days, or at least in my day, there's, you know, doctor, lawyer, engineer, disgrace to the family. That's the joke. And hairstyling fell under the fourth category, right? It's not, no one's trying to have children and say, yeah, my kid's going to be a hairstylist. At least back then, you know, I'm Nigerian. Everybody wanted, you know, you're going to be a surgeon, you know, you're going to be this, or you're going to be that. But you have to give your children, at least with me, what I try to do, give my children a vast array of options in terms of interests, and see what they gravitate to, and whatever they gravitate to, encourage them along those lines, right? Just build skill. The world is fast changing. Just build skills, because you never know when those skills will come in handy. Like I said, I never thought I'd be a hairstylist, but I love what I do. And beyond just hairstyling, it's really just the connection, just being a good person and having empathy and being a respectful person and being a considerate person, so that you are able to connect with other people to build community. I say this all the time. I don't want to befriend. I'm not interested in becoming friends or getting to know people who are just in business to make money. Stay away from me. You have to be in the business of building community as well. Those two things have to be together for you to kind of want to hang with me.
Yeah, I love it.
Otherwise, stay away. We got nothing in common. You be in the business of making money and in the business of building community. Yeah. And you can never fail if those two are top of mind. You can never.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
I think it's you know, I remember one of the things we had a huge struggle with at the beginning was I opened the business from a personal conversation. I opened the business and was just immediately, I felt attacked for financial support from people.
Oh yeah.
And I was
yeah.
I'm not making, I don't have any money to give you. I was like, I'll take some charity.
You know what I mean?
And I was like, well, you know what else can we do?
Right.
What can we do that doesn't cost money?
Right.
What do we do that pushes some energy, takes some time? And now that's our entire community involvement.
That's amazing.
And I think, what it's done and showcased, like a good friend of mine's doing March Padness, which is female hygiene products in the month of March.
Nice, I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Being able to, not saying that I was his inspiration, but what we talk about is like showcasing to people that it doesn't always have to be this monetary. We did a golf charity tournament and we give $15,000.
That's awesome.
It's coats.
I was just gonna say.
It's time. It's community clean. It's whatever we can do to kind of volunteer our time. Where there's so many amazing organizations, and that's why I wanted to bring it up into the YWCA. How did you start your journey getting involved? Because I think a lot of people don't know, don't know the first steps, or don't know where to go.
That's true. Well, I think I have a lot of interests. I'm interested in student success and mentorship, just like you. I'm interested in healthcare and healing. I'm interested in women and girls. I'm interested in business. I'm interested in the environment and environmental protection. I'm interested in what's the word now? I don't think it's a word. I'm interested in being a good human being, being a good, decent human being. So I find organizations that are aligned and I say, well, where are you needing help? How can I come in and how can I help you? How can we work together to make your goals, what's the word? To achieve your goals? How can we work together to have more impact? That's what I was looking for. It was in my brain somewhere. How can we come together to have more impact? And I think the more we're able to do that, the more impact we will have, right? I mean, everyone has a little thing that they want to do. Everyone has, they have their interests and they have their strengths. But if we can all bring it together as a community and work together, man, I can't even begin to imagine how amazing that would be. And you've done that in many ways, right? With your coat drive, I saw that over the holidays. There was so many coats that were on the staircase.
There was a lot of coats.
There were a lot of coats. And then the mentorship that you're doing with schools and all that, right? So for me, it was I joined the philanthropy committee, philanthropy and what's it called at the time now? I don't recall, but it was a philanthropy committee with the YWCA, and we're involved with fundraising, we're involved with events planning, we're involved with community organizing.
I walked those miles in those shoes.
You walked those shoes. That's right. So we do all that. Walk a mile in those shoes. We do the Women Build Hamilton campaign. We did the awards that were just on recently. That
was a great event.
Yes, the YWCA. What's it called now? Women of Distinction Awards. Dan, I did say I was hungry, didn't I? Yep.
The brain's not fully working.
It's obvious. No, Dan, where's the pizza?
It's coming.
Okay, good. It better be coming. I can't believe you brought me
It's hot as soon as this
didn't bring me any food. There was supposed to be a spread, people. There was supposed to be a spread.
There's 4 types of water here, but...
So I just, for me, I'm not a shy person, never have been. And so when I left my job and I knew that I wanted to start my business, but I also wanted to give back and I wanted to be very strategic about doing that, I went to all the organizations that aligned and I said, hey, I've got these skills and I'm great with people. I have a good smile. How can I help you? And it was really that simple. So with the Y, and a lot of my friends who are also in community have done a lot of work with the Y and actually work at the YWCA. So it was an easy transition for me. And then you just get challenged, Lohifa, do you want to do this? Lohifa, we need to do that. Lohifa, and you got all these thoughts and ideas and you bring it together and then you look for ways to implement them. And that's really and then when you're in one space, you interact with people who are in other spaces and they pull you into those spaces. And that really is how I've just disseminated myself
and just around the city. Just like you said there, like one of the things I think is so special about you is I've never seen you in a bad mood.
No. That's a choice. I do.
And I think it's such a special thing to do. And when you talk about service and you talk about showing up as your best self and being a leader, that like it's so noticeable when you make the choice to be that person and be that face and be that energy that I know, like, if I'm having a day, someone, they're like, especially the office here, I call it the gauntlet coming down the office here, but like, it's so much more apparent when you are maybe having a day or you're not your best self, because you go from such a high to normal.
Yes, normal for everyone. Yeah. This is our normal, Dad. Yeah. That's normal for everyone. Very different, very different.
But when you're serving, right? Like, how many people come into your chair,
right,
and come in with a problem and leave with a completely different outlook? That
but
must
it's
be
the same
so
with
special.
you. I think it really is about the interaction, being conscious and deliberate about the outcome of that interaction. Right? I get down too. I say it all the time. I get down, I get sad, but I don't stay there. That's not where I'm called to be. That's not where that's the way I want to be. There's nothing exciting about it. I want to be done and out. So I actually have an hourglass. I have a few of them around my house, and they're exactly 7.5 minutes. And on days when I'm struggling or when I'm upset or when I'm not my best self, I give myself exactly 7.5 minutes to get the hell out of it.
That's
and
powerful.
I'm done. And I move on. And because sometimes there's this psychological theory of learned helplessness where you get used to being sad and you get used to being down and you get used to being, helpless, really. And no one wants to stay there. We're human beings, right? It's learned behavior. If you push yourself out of it, learn to push yourself out of it, you eventually get out of it. So I don't even let myself get to the point where it becomes comfortable. I'm one and done. Hourglass is done. I'm on to the next thing.
Good for you.
That's worked for me. I'm not saying it works for everyone.
There's the hint of the day, guys.
It definitely
that's
works for
powerful.
me. Thank you.
You need those tools, right? I think
you do.
I think we all get kind of stuck sometimes, like, is it a bad minute or a bad day?
Right.
And that bad minute, especially myself, sometimes I can, you talk about being so positive a lot of the times. When I'm having a bad day, one of the tools we use is identifying, especially in business, there's challenges that come up all the time.
Every time.
So if I'm having something that's overwhelming, it goes, okay, I had a terrible day. Everything's going wrong.
Right.
But everything goes wrong every day. And everything goes right every day.
This is true.
But that one overarching thing makes you focus on all the bad instead of focusing on all the great.
Right.
And I think sometimes a lot of people right now are talking about what am I grateful for? What's my gratitude journal? And I think that exercise is very powerful. But also, if you add in a piece of reflection and say, where was I last year at this time? And where am I today? And what are all those things we accomplished this year as a mind or whatever you want to call it? But as an energy, what did we do? And I find that's such a powerful statement. I don't think we take enough time. It's not about to reminisce. It's not about talking about your high school days when you're, the sports team or whatever. But
being cognizant of how far you've come, I think it's important.
I think for a lot of viewers listening that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, and you just saying like, oh no, it was an easy decision to get into, to the entrepreneur space and not giving up on a career, but taking the next steps in your career to saying like, wow, you did that.
Right.
Wow, just imagine you didn't have, like, you have it, but just imagine you didn't, or you were worried about taking that step.
Sure.
Right?
True. I want to get back to what you said about the overarching theme when we have good day or bad day or good minute or good minute or a bad day or good, I don't know how you said it, but whatever you said, I think the overarching thing there is attitude. Wherever you are in your day, whatever's happening, whatever you're going through, you have to have the right attitude. My mom has a saying, your attitude determines your altitude. Okay. And I believe that 100%. Right? If you're having a bad day, that's the one thing you have control over. That's everything else could be going wrong and you've got no control. But you always have the choice of attitude. And if you come with the right attitude, you'll be good. You'll be fine. The world could be collapsing around you and you'll be fine.
And, the things that you learned from your mom, because, before this we talked about how soon I have to have kids. And Lo challenged you pretty hard on why I'm having kids and why I don't want to do this. So
it's to get to the crux of it.
I had a good answer.
You had a very good answer.
There's purpose. But as a mother, and a wife, but also a daughter,
right?
How do you find creating the mold for yourself? Because I always say, like the habits that we build, our children are going to build.
Right. Facts.
And a lot of the times we might not all like this, but I have met, like my sister stopped me in the middle of a lunch. We were at a lunch and I go to a naturopath. And so I've got a gauntlet of vitamins of some sort that I take every day.
Nice.
And we used to make fun of my mom. So she's so embarrassed because she'd have her little fanny pack and she'd go, oh, it's 11:30, time to take my pills. And I'm out of lunch and I brought a Ziploc bag with my pills. Took them out of lunch. My sister Julie goes, "You're mom." She goes, "You're being mom right now."
That's nice to see. It's nice to see your parents in your siblings and then also in yourself. I think that's a beautiful thing about being a parent.
And how are you what's the plan to sculpt your kids?
Oh, man,
just keep being yourself?
I think so. I think, like you said, what was that? We were talking about dating and stuff, and you said you had to write down the list of what you want or the attributes, and then you work towards being that person, and then you'll attract that person, right? Yeah. I think it's the same with parenting. I think your kids raise you just as much as you raise them.
I love that.
You have to think about who you are being to them, amidst them, and that will raise them, right? Kids, they learn more by seeing than they learn by hearing. You can say all the great things and you can quote all the great quotes, but if you yourself are not the person that you want them to be, it's going to be one stretch of a goal to try to get them to be it. So I've got a good community around me. I mean, I by God's grace, and both my parents are still alive, and I've got a sister and a brother, and I've got lots of amazing friends who set my kids straight with me as well. And my husband is awesome. So I think that's it takes a village really to raise children, especially these days when the world is just there's so many options. These kids have so many options. It's crazy. So you want to be able to give them the tools that will help them navigate the world as a good human being, as a good, compassionate, empathetic, respectful, goal-oriented human. And I'm not just going to do it alone. I've never wanted to do it alone. So I'm glad that I have the community around to help me. And I think it comes back to that as well, right? Where did these friends come from? Where did my husband come from? They came from me being in the community and serving. Yeah. and what are they doing in return? They're helping me build myself and build my family, right? So it's mutually beneficial. If you've been holding back on community service or on giving back, you're missing out on a lot.
Tons.
On a lot, yeah.
It's, and some of these organizations, my sister worked for the Canadian Cancer Society.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I think, a lot of the times too, we're talking about these staff members for hire.
Okay.
And the conversation between, how many volunteers it takes to run these organizations. And when you are volunteering, if you treat it like a position, it is so much more supportive to these organizations that are, sometimes underfunded or undersupported, but also just the impact that they can make is if you say, you know what, I'm going to donate 3 hours of my time. I'm going to donate an hour of my time.
Right.
Act like the best employee. Act like the VP.
Facts.
Act like, go in, treat it like a job and really make an impact there. And what we find is that is so gracious.
For sure.
And so well received from the staff members. There's no better feeling.
Oh, entirely.
You can't get a gift that's better than that.
Dan, entirely. If
that
you're going to do something,
hug,
right. If
you're
going to do something, do it well.
Yeah.
Or don't do it at all. Just do it to the best of your ability or step aside and let someone else do it. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. Again, the attitude that you bring to the work.
That's it. I'm very fortunate to be on a board with you. And, I think sometimes, especially at the end of a long day, it's okay, we've got this board meeting, but the impact we can make as a group of leaders in an organization, it's like, I always say, wow, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be on this board. Instead of,
one more thing you have to do. Right. Being grateful.
I get to.
Yes, that's right.
I remember being the one plumber in the whole organization. People thought I was They're like, the bathrooms are over there if you need to go fix them.
I'm a hairstylist, so come on. Like people don't expect people like us to exist in spaces like that because of our career choices, right? When you think about the board that we serve on, you think, big wig, Wall Street business, you got to be top tier CEO and all that. That is some bunkum. I think everybody has something to offer in terms of perspective, because we all have different approaches. We all have different ways of knowing. We all have different understandings. We have different ways of thinking. And if you can bring those perspectives, regardless of where they're coming from, you can bring them together, the outcome will be all the better. So it really doesn't matter what your career is. And I feel so sorry for people who pull people on boards just because they are engineers or just because they are successful in business. You could bring someone who failed in many businesses and they will have more to offer you than the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And I say that facts on facts, because it really is about the perspective and the diversity of that perspective that you bring together. So it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I never thought of you as a plumber on the board. What up, plumber? Hey, from the hairstylist.
Yeah. Well, and I think, going back to that assumption, it's like I was the one that assumed I couldn't be part of it.
Right.
It wasn't them not making me feel included.
No, I'm sure they made you feel included.
It was,
but, right.
It was, how do I do this? How do I navigate this?
Right.
Well, you build yourself up and you ask some
true.
questions and you get involved.
This is true.
Right? Like the conversation around ROI and what am I getting out of this? I met you. It paid for itself. So I think
this is true, and that's a good point too. Again, it's the kind of community that you can build within the spaces that you allow yourself be a part of, and that you allow yourself contribute to, and that you allow yourself participate in, right? And how you show up in those spaces as well determines the kind of people that you attract. If you're showing up as a volunteer, whining and complaining, oh, one more thing I have to do, I got to lift this other box again. How many people are going to want to interact with you? How many? I mean, you'll find a few people of the same mindset, but you're not going far.
There's actually a room over there for you guys. Get on my face.
That's funny. That's interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting that you mentioned our self-perception is very, very, very important. How we see ourselves and how we show up. Sometimes we are our own worst critic. So it's very important to be aware of your self-talk and to know yourself too. We were talking about that before we came on. It's so important to take the time to know yourself and know your strengths and know your skills and then know how, when, and where to apply them. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. It's powerful.
It is. It really is.
So we always ask ourselves these questions at the end of the podcast, but what advice?
We're at the end already? What?
And I think we're going over in time, but what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh man, it's funny you mentioned that, because I guess I already led into it. I think I was raised confidently. I'm a confident person, never had an issue with confidence, but I would tell my younger self to ground my confidence in the knowledge of myself.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's so important for us to be grounded in that knowledge. Sometimes, life, we just go through life, go through all the motions, right? We take time to know other people, to date other people, to impress other people, but we never really take the time to do the same for ourselves. And that's one thing I wish I did more of growing up, was get to know myself more. Now I know I mean
No
I
way.
fully know.
I
mean, you can't tell, you're blind. I know myself and I love myself, and I'm very grateful for this self. But it's so important for those who might be, out there questioning or struggling. Please take the time to know yourself and give to yourself. And ground your confidence in that knowledge. Amazing. Yeah.
I think that's a journey that we kind of always need to continuously be on. And I think, just like I said earlier, that was something where I was always trying to fit in with other places.
Right. That's normal.
And I feel that's just some great advice for the younger generation. And how would you recommend for someone to start that journey?
Right. I think spending time with yourself is important. A lot of times, we mirror, like you said, you're trying to be other people, right? We mirror other people. And even when you do that, there's things that sit well with you and there's things that don't. You know right away whether you vibe with someone or not, right?
Yeah.
You know when you're in a space doing something, whether it's the right thing for you or not. You know when you're having an interaction, whether it's the right interaction or not. So I think it's really about being attentive and paying attention to the things that sit well with your spirit and the things that sit well with your mind, the things that sit well with your heart, things that sit well with your head, right? I think that's really the important thing. So be very, very attentive. Do you live your everyday life, explore your options, do what you need to do, but be attentive to the things that stir your spirit. And those are the things those are the seeds that will guide you to who you are. And then when you find that person, because it comes in little snippets here and there, just love yourself. It's so important, and everything will flow out of that.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
One of the questions we always ask ourselves, guys, on the podcast is why not me and why not now? And Lo is just a spitting image of that when it comes from entrepreneurship, but also just, attitude.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Being that energy in the room and, being true to yourself and kind of taking life and journey to the next level because you don't know who you're going to impact. Because I could tell you from day one, this woman has impacted my life in such a positive way.
As have you mine.
And I hope today she had the opportunity to impact yours.
I hope so too.
All her social media, which is a laundry list, is going to be on online. Ty in the background here is going to get everything for you. Just check her out, guys. You want to see somebody that day in and day out puts herself out there, to make everybody else around her hopefully come up to her energy levels and kind of take life to the next level. That's right. So it's been an absolute pleasure, guys.
It's been an awesome time. Thank you all so much. Thanks for having me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing with your friends. Appreciate you all.
Okay. Awesome.
Woo-hoo!